also died.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
31 May 2020. Due to the coronavirus scourge, you are encouraged to submit your 2019 return of earnings online. To file your ROE, go to www. www.labour.gov.za. The Compensation Fund. Working for you.
It's 2020, and while cars don't fly yet, give the team at Hatfield Motor Group just 20 seconds of your time, and we'll give you 20 reasons to love your car while still reaching for the sky. If it's a new demo or used VW or Audi that you're after, a VW light commercial vehicle, or even one of our robust MAN trucks and buses, then there's only one place to do business, and that's with the Hatfield Motor Group. See our stock online at hatfieldgroup.co.za. Rated #1 in service.
Being in the COVID-19 lockdown doesn't mean that your online business should be too. South Africa's leading online payment solutions wants to help. Wants to help for the duration of April. If you sign up for a PayFast account using the promo code CrushCovid, you will get 20% off PayFast fees for the first 6 months. For more details, visit the PayFast blog on payfast.co.za. Well, it's goodbye from the Weekend Breakfast Show, and Kenny Maestri standing by with some music for you. And of course, at 11 o'clock, he's going to be taking you through the Time Tunnel cart. So stay tuned for that one. Of course, those SMS and WhatsApp lines are open. It is 10 o'clock.
This is Eyewitness News.
Good morning, I'm Ayanda Nyati. South African Airways has edged out a proposal aimed at a mass layoff of workers, which involves selling its assets to pay out severance packages. The move is seen by many as another signal the airline has reached a dead end. Business rescue practitioners have offered employees exit packages after failing to secure more funding from government. In the offer, which is yet to be finalized, the practitioners warn that the airline is unlikely to succeed. It comes just days after the Public Enterprises Department denied the embattled carrier a 10 billion rand bailout, saying all companies are facing a financial crunch during the COVID-19 pandemic. It's understood unions are mulling a response to the proposal, while the National Transport Movement has countered the offer. The Basic Education Department has postponed the June rewrite matric exams due to disruptions caused by the coronavirus. The move affects more than 350,000 part-time candidates, who include those who did not meet the pass requirements in last year's sitting. The exams were scheduled to begin on the 4th of next month and end on the 26th of June. The department has, however, urged candidates to continue with their preparations. Spokesperson Elijah Mhlanga.
we had already missed some operational deadlines in terms of the preparations. So it has become impossible to do it, and it has now been moved to the end of the year. But the details will be unveiled in the next few days in terms of the new timetable and where to register and the examination centers.
An Orange Farm couple charged with the murder of a 5-year-old child will appear in the Vereeniging Magistrates Court come Monday. Mzwandile Zito's body was found at a tavern owned by the pair earlier this week. Police say the child had a string around his neck and his feet were tied. Sfiso Zulu has more.
While Mzwandile Zito's family demands justice, police say they are investigating the circumstances around his death. The child's grandmother reported him missing following his disappearance on Wednesday morning, and police found his body at the liquor outlet hours later. Police spokesperson Kema Kubele.
We are going to investigate as to how the boy ended up in the tavern.
It's unclear how the child left his home, which is located a few meters away from the tavern. Sfiso Zulu, Eyewitness News.
Moving to the Western Cape now, where the city of Cape Town has until next week Monday to return building materials taken from the Empolweni community in the township of Khayelitsha. The city came under fire after dismantling shacks erected on land owned by the municipality last week amid threats posed by COVID-19. In another blow to the local government, the community yesterday was given some reprieve by the courts. Jarita Kasen has more.
The High Court yesterday ruled the community cannot be removed from the land during the national lockdown. The court order allows the community to erect no more than 49 structures to ensure adequate social distancing. The applicants will be allowed to live in those structures for the duration of the lockdown period, but no new occupants may settle on the land. Attorney at the Legal Resources Centre, Kensani Motuleni, says they tried to get the city to return the building materials sooner so that people could rebuild their homes.
The legal counsel said that been sleeping outside for 5 days. What's waiting 2 more days gonna change? This goes to show that they don't care. This was said in open court.
The city of Cape Town argued it was entitled to protect its land from occupation. For his part, the provincial MEC for Human Settlements, Tertius Simmers, says he's spoken to Mako member Malusi Bui to ensure necessary sanitation is provided to the community this weekend.
Obviously, there needs to be a provision of water points and temporary toilets, which must be in accordance with the national norm. He has ensured me that will happen.
Simmers and the Minister for Human Settlements visited the community briefly yesterday. Jarita Kassen, Eyewitness News.
And Malawi's High Court has halted the lockdown due to come into effect today. Judge Kenyatta Nyarenda granted an injunction blocking the 21-day lockdown because there was insufficient measures to cushion the country's poor. Jean-Jacques Cornish has more.
Malawian authorities have rounded on Judge Kenyatta, calling him unpatriotic. President Peter Mutharika says Malawi, which has had 2 confirmed coronavirus deaths, could lose 50,000 if the virus takes hold. It's because he didn't outline a social safety net that Malawi's Human Rights Defense Commission took the matter to court. Malawi is one of the poorest countries on the planet. More than half the 18 million population live below the poverty threshold. The injunction is temporary. An inter-party hearing will be held within days. Jean-Jacques Cornish, Eyewitness News.
A cloudy day in store for Gauteng with isolated afternoon thunder showers expected. The temperatures are set to peak at highs of 23 and 24 degrees. Partly cloudy in Cape Town today. A light southeasterly forecast along with a high of 29. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. South African Airways has issued out a proposal aimed at a mass layoff of workers, which involves selling its assets to pay out severance packages.
Eyewitness News. In touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, log on to ewn.co.za or ewn.mobi.
Your favorites every weekend. 702 Music with Kenny Maestri.
Hello and welcome to Work Life India from the BBC World Service. Namaste. I'm Devina Gupta. Work Life India comes to you from Delhi, where the world's biggest coronavirus lockdown has been extended. As more than 1 billion Indians stay home, many are using social media to beat the lockdown boredom. They want more content, and that means social media influencers are having to innovate. So from quarantine fashion tips to lockdown dance moves, content creators are trying hard to keep their followers and sponsors hooked. So this week, we speak with India's top influencer on how to navigate this changing digital world. Also on our panel, a budding travel influencer sharing secrets on making money in a lockdown, and a marketing guru who shares insights about what brands want from influencers. We asked them, how is the coronavirus impacting the influencer economy in India? That's after the news.
BBC News, hello, I'm Gareth Barlow. Doctors in Japan are warning the country's medical system could collapse amid a rising number of coronavirus cases. Japan has recorded 10,000 infections and nearly 200 people have died with the disease. Michael Bristow reports.
Two Japanese medical associations said the extra burden caused by virus infections meant hospitals were now refusing to treat some patients, even those suffering from serious conditions such as strokes and heart attacks. One patient in an ambulance with a fever was turned away by 80 medical facilities before finding a hospital in Tokyo that would accept him. Japan initially appeared to have the outbreak under control and resisted bringing in tough restrictions for fear they would damage the economy. But on Thursday, the Prime Minister Shinzo Abe expanded a state of emergency to cover the entire country.
The Nigerian president's chief of staff, Abi Kyari, has died after contracting the coronavirus. Mr. Kyari was in his 70s. He had tested positive for COVID-19 in March and had been receiving treatment. Nigeria has nearly 500 confirmed cases of the coronavirus. 17 people have died. Ishaq Khalid reports from Abuja.
The late Chief of Staff to the Nigerian President, Mr. Abba Kyari, was arguably the most powerful presidential aide in Nigeria. He was instrumental in running the affairs of the country. In a short press statement in the early hours of Saturday, the Nigerian presidency says it regrets to announce the death of Mr. Kyari. The statement says he died on Friday. It's not clear whether he had underlying health conditions. President Muhammadu Buhari had tested negative to coronavirus despite his closeness to his chief of staff.
Leading clerics and government ministers in Pakistan are meeting to discuss whether Friday prayers should be allowed to take place during the coronavirus outbreak and what rules will be enforced during Ramadan, which is due to begin next week. At the moment, in an effort to prevent the spread of coronavirus, congregational prayers in groups of more than 5 people are banned, but these have been taking place in many mosques regardless. There has been a rise in the number of new infections in Germany for the 4th consecutive day. In the past 24 hours, more than 3,600 new cases were reported. The number of deaths as a result of coronavirus has risen too. On Friday, the German health minister said the outbreak was under control. The BBC's Damien McGuinness reports from Berlin.
I think what's going to be difficult now, because the situation looks relatively positive in Germany, and I'm saying relatively because we have a growing death toll and every single death is a death too many, but because the figures in general are starting to look more positive, infection rates are going down, it's going to be even harder to persuade people to stay inside and to stick to those social isolation measures and those social contact measures.
Damien McGuinness reporting from Berlin. You're listening to the latest world news from the BBC World Service in central London. Brazil has announced the highest number of deaths in a single day from COVID-19. The 217 fatalities bring the total number to more than 2,100 in what is the worst affected country in Latin America. However, the health ministry said the true figure was likely to be much higher since only those entering hospitals had been tested. The Philippines government has promised tough retaliatory action against Islamist militants on the southern island of Sulu after 11 soldiers were killed in an attack on Friday. A Philippine presidential spokesman said the government would still confront its enemies, even amid the existing public health emergency. Researchers from Northwestern University in the United States say they've developed a way of storing hydrogen gas at a much lower pressure, removing a barrier to the use of hydrogen to fuel cars and other vehicles. Matt McGrath is our environment correspondent.
Hydrogen has long been touted as a greener alternative to petrol and diesel in cars, but the gas is incredibly light, so the only way of carrying enough for journeys has been to store it under huge pressure in specially made, highly expensive fuel tanks. Now researchers say they have developed a new way of storing the fuel using an extremely porous aluminium-based material. Acting like a sponge, it binds large amounts of gas to its many surfaces. Previous versions of the product have been developed by the same scientists to protect US soldiers from nerve gas. They now say this new approach could be incorporated into future fuel tanks for cars.
The Ukrainian authorities say some areas of grass and tree stumps within the Chernobyl exclusion zone are still smouldering after forest fires were extinguished last week. Hundreds of firefighters battled the blaze for days before heavy rain helped to put it out. The fires came within a few kilometres of Chernobyl's old reactor buildings, site of the world's worst nuclear accident in 1986. BBC News.
Hello and namaste. I'm Divina Gupta and this is Work Life India on the BBC. The show that looks at all things to do with money, the work we do and the lives we lead. As India's economy struggles under an extended lockdown, we focus on social.
Several hospitals in Kenya are preparing for a mass influx of patients as the country anticipates what officials describe as an inevitable surge of cases in the coming weeks. Aga Khan Hospital is one of the major health centers playing a key role in the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. The center has set up a 44-bed adjoining field hospital to increase capacity.
The infection is still going through the community, but we expect an inevitable surge, and that should be happening in the next 2 to 4 weeks. So we'll only know whether we have actually survived the bullet, or rather escaped the bullet of a surge 3 to 4 weeks from now.
The government recently made it illegal to not wear face masks in public. It has imposed a nationwide curfew from 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. local time. Nairobi, the port of Mombasa, as well as Kilifi and Kwale counties of Kenya's Indian Ocean coast have been sealed off from the rest of the country in an attempt to contain the spread of the virus.
Without the US government support, the World Health Organization will come under serious financial pressure.
Everyone, very nice.
The WHO, which is already dealing with the global COVID-19 pandemic, has spoken about the consequences of this withdrawal in Africa.
And I know we'll want to come back.
For the UN agency, the recent decision by American President Donald Trump to halt their contribution could have a significant impact on the fight against COVID-19, but also other diseases already present on the continent.
So the impact potentially of this decision will be quite significant on areas such as polio eradication. We're on the way to having a declaration of certification of polio being eradicated from Africa.
Donald Trump has accused the WHO of badly managing the spread of COVID-19 while also concealing information with the help of China. Nigerian health authorities have identified early detection and immediate intervention as the best strategy in combating the coronavirus pandemic. Health workers have been deployed to villages and suburbs of Abuja to test and raise awareness on the disease.
We have come for active case search of COVID-19 in the communities, and we've started this for the past 2-3 days. So we're trying to see that to ensure that there's no community transmission, and if there is, for us to detect it and start other treatment.
some of the populations at risk of the disease have responded to the call for systematic screening.
At least it will give me boldness to say that there's nothing wrong with me and to be more careful how I stay close to people or the people I allow coming around me. So that is why I'm here.
To date, Nigeria has carried out nearly 6,000 tests in the country. Unfortunately, the limited capacity in carrying out large-scale testing does not allow for an accurate picture of the pandemic in the country. The African Union Center for Disease Control and Prevention says it will distribute 1 million test kits for COVID-19 next week.
European justice ministers are authorizing early release of prisoners as a way to slow the spread of COVID-19. Experts say it is a thriving environment in prison places, and freeing up space in jail cells could allow for social distancing to slow the spread of this novel virus.
It's very, very difficult inside a prison, a closed prison, because it's so confined. Narrow landings, cell doors next to each other. It's a very restricted area, so to adhere to those social distancing guidelines can be done, but it means we had to severely restrict our regime.
In the United Kingdom, the aim is to release 4,000 prisoners in advance, but for this trade unionist, the process is too slow.
We're hoping that process can be streamlined and we can get these prisoners out, because as far as I'm aware, there's not that many prisoners who've actually been released since that announcement. It's in the dozens rather than the hundreds, so that really needs to be addressed.
This is further confirmed by the minister in charge of prisoners, who undertakes proper measures before their release.
In relation to the wider release, the early releases that we identified, we released 4 men last week and are planning to release a significant number this week. We have been, over the last few days, conducting the absolutely necessary checks to ensure that the people that we will be releasing early do not pose a risk to the public.
In France, in just 1 month, the prison population has dropped by 10,000 prisoners. This is as a result of early release, but also on the slowdown in judicial activities and the less frequent use of provisional detentions. In Italy, the government restricted prison visits in March to help stem the spread of coronavirus.
The Grand Egyptian Museum, located near the Pyramids of Giza, will not be opened until 2021. The decision has been taken by the government over the coronavirus pandemic. The president announced postponing opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum, but we're still working hard to finish it technically and archaeologically as soon as possible. Of course, there was a delay in the last month and a half, like all projects. Speaking to the press Monday, the Egyptian Minister for Tourism and Antiquity said, in compliance with coronavirus measures, staff working on the project have been reduced for their safety. We reduced the number of employees to keep them safe. Today we're visiting the restoration lab and antiquity storeroom to assure that work continues. Behind me there's a unique antique that was completely destroyed. This is the first time it's been shown outside the tomb since it was discovered in 1922. The Grand Egyptian Museum has been under construction for well over a decade. It is intended to showcase Egypt's ancient treasures while drawing in tourists to help fund its future development. But the project has been subject to repeated delays. Several plans for its opening has repeatedly been scrapped. The museum is a series of towering concrete halls that will eventually hold some 50,000 artifacts. That includes the famed mask of Pharaoh Tutankhamun. The government said it has moved more than 5,000 objects from the collection of Tutankhamun